Define microeconomics. How does it differ from macroeconomics? Microeconomics is the branch of economics that focuses on the behavior of individual consumers, firms, and industries, as well as the decisions they make regarding the allocation of resources. It analyzes how these entities interact within markets to determine prices, supply, demand, and the distribution of goods and services. Key topics in microeconomics include consumer behavior, production theory, market structures like perfect competition and monopolies, and the role of government in regulating markets. Key differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics. 1. Scope. Microeconomics. It deals with individual economic agents and specific markets. It studies how consumers make choices, how firms operate, and how prices are determined in specific markets. Macroeconomics. It focuses on the economy as a whole. It examines large-scale economic factors such as national income, overall unemployment rates, inflation, and gross domestic product (GDP). 2. Level of analysis. Microeconomics. It analyzes the actions of individuals and businesses. It seeks to understand the mechanisms that drive supply and demand in individual markets. Macroeconomics. It analyzes aggregate economic indicators and national policies. It looks at broader economic trends and how they affect overall economic performance. Third, goals. Microeconomics. It aims to understand the decision-making processes of consumers and firms to predict how they will respond to changes in market conditions. Macroeconomics. It aims to understand and manage economic fluctuations and to formulate policies that foster economic growth and stability. Fourth, applications. Microeconomics is useful for understanding business strategies, pricing decisions, and consumer behavior. Macroeconomics is useful for formulating government policies, managing economic growth, and addressing issues like inflation and unemployment. Summary. In essence, while microeconomics zooms in on the specifics of individual economic units, macroeconomics provides a broader view of the overall economic landscape. Both are crucial for a comprehensive understanding of economic theory and practice. What is the scope of microeconomics? The scope of microeconomics encompasses a wide range of topics that analyzes the behavior of individuals, households, and firms in decision-making processes regarding resource allocation. Here are the key areas within the scope of microeconomics. Consumer behavior. 1. Utility maximization. Study of how consumers allocate their income to maximize satisfaction or utility from goods and services. Demand analysis. Examination of the relationship between price and quantity demanded, including the derivation of demand curves and factors affecting demand, like income, preferences, and prices of substitutes and complements. Elasticity. Analysis of how responsive demand is to changes in price, income, or other factors. Price elasticity, income elasticity, cross price elasticity. 2. Production and costs. Production theory. Investigation of how firms convert inputs, that is labor, capital, materials, into outputs, that is goods and services, using various production functions. Cost analysis. Study of the different types of costs: fixed, variable, total, average, marginal, and their implications for business decisions and pricing strategies. Third, market structures. Perfect competition. Analysis of markets with many buyers and sellers where no single entity can influence prices. Monopoly. Study of markets dominated by a single seller, exploring pricing power and market control. Monopolistic competition. Examination of markets with many firms selling differentiated products, leading to some degree of pricing power. Oligopoly. Analysis of markets with a few large firms that have significant market power, focusing on strategic interactions and pricing strategies. Fourth, market equilibrium. Supply and demand analysis. Understanding how supply and demand interact to determine market equilibrium price and quantity. Welfare economics. Study of how the allocation of resources affects social welfare, including concepts of consumer surplus and producer surplus. Fifth, government intervention. Market failures. Analysis of situations where markets fail to allocate resources efficiently. Example, externalities, public goods, information asymmetries. Regulation and policy. Examination of government policies that affect markets, such as price controls, taxes, subsidies, and antitrust laws. Sixth, factor market. Labor market analysis. Study of how wages are determined and how labor supply and demand interact. Capital market analysis. Examination of how capital is allocated among different firms and industries. Seventh, income distribution. Equity and inequality. Study of how income and wealth are distributed among individuals and groups within an economy. Social welfare. Analysis of policies aimed at improving income distribution and reducing poverty. Eighth, behavioral economics. Decision making. Exploration of how psychological factors influence economic decision making, including biases and heuristics. Summary. The scope of microeconomics is extensive, covering various aspects of economic behavior at the individual and firm levels. By analyzing these components, microeconomics helps to understand the intricacies of market dynamics and provides insights into how to improve efficiency and welfare within an economy. Discuss the importance of microeconomics in economic decision making. Microeconomics plays a crucial role in economic decision making for various stakeholders, including individuals, businesses, and policymakers. Its importance can be understood through several key aspects. First, informed decision making. Consumer choices. Microeconomics helps consumers understand their preferences and budget constraints, allowing them to make informed choices about which goods and services to purchase to maximize their utility. Business strategy. Firms utilize microeconomic principles to analyze market conditions, consumer behavior, and competitive dynamics. This information is vital for making strategic decisions regarding pricing, product development, and market entry. Resource allocation. Number 2. Efficient resource use. Microeconomic analysis assists in determining the optimal allocation of scarce resources. It provides insights into how resources can be distributed among various users to achieve maximum satisfaction or profit. Production decisions. Businesses apply microeconomic concepts to decide the quantity of goods to produce based on demand forecasts, cost considerations, and profit potential. Third, market dynamics. Understanding supply and demand. Microeconomics provides tools to analyze supply and demand interactions, helping businesses and consumers understand price fluctuations and market trends. Market structures. Knowledge of different market structures, that is, perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, enables businesses to assess their competitive environment and adjust their strategies accordingly. Pricing strategy. Number 4. Determining pricing power. Microeconomics helps firms evaluate their pricing strategies based on cost structures, demand elasticity, and competitor pricing. This analysis is crucial for maximizing revenue and profit. Price discrimination. Businesses can use microeconomic principles to implement price discrimination strategies, charging different prices to different consumers based on their willingness to pay. Fifth, government policies and regulation. Policy formulation. Policymakers rely on microeconomic analysis to design effective regulations and policies that address market failures such as externalities and public goods, thereby improving social welfare. Taxation and subsidies. Understanding microeconomic principles helps governments assess the impact of taxes and subsidies on market behavior, enabling them to make informed decisions about fiscal policies. Economic forecasting. Predicting consumer behavior. Microeconomic analysis provides frameworks for predicting how consumers will respond to changes in prices, income, and other factors, aiding businesses in forecasting demand and adjusting their operations. Identifying trends. By studying market conditions and consumer preferences, businesses and governments can identify emerging trends and adapt their strategies to remain competitive. Seventh, social welfare and equity. Welfare economics. Microeconomics contributes to the analysis of how different policies affect social welfare, enabling policymakers to evaluate the impact of decisions on income distribution and overall societal well-being. Addressing inequality. Understanding microeconomic factors allows governments to formulate policies aimed at reducing income inequality and improving access to essential services. Eighth, behavioral insights. Understanding decision making. Behavioral economics, a subset of microeconomics, examines how psychological factors influence economic decisions. This knowledge helps firms and policymakers design better products and policies that align with actual consumer behavior. Summary. The importance of microeconomics in economic decision making lies in its ability to provide a framework for understanding individual and firm behavior in the marketplace. By analyzing choices, resource allocation, market dynamics, and the impact of government policies, microeconomics helps stakeholders make informed decisions that enhance efficiency, profitability, and social welfare. Explain the concept of opportunity cost with examples. Opportunity cost is a fundamental concept in economics that refers to the value of the next best alternative that is foregone when making a decision. In other words, it is the cost of not choosing the next best option when a choice is made. Understanding opportunity cost helps individuals and organizations make more informed choices by considering what they are giving up in pursuit of a particular option. Key points. Opportunity cost is not always measured in monetary terms. It can also involve time, resources, and utility. It emphasizes the trade-offs inherent in decision making, highlighting that every choice has a cost. Examples of opportunity cost. Education versus employment. Scenario. A student decides to attend college instead of working full time. Opportunity cost. The opportunity cost includes the wages the student could have earned during the time spent in college, as well as any work experience gained. 2. Investment choices. Scenario. An investor has $10,000 and must choose between investing in stock A, which is expected to yield a 5% return, or stock B, which is expected to yield a 10% return. Opportunity cost. If the investor chooses stock A, the opportunity cost is the additional 5% return they would have earned from stock B. Third, leisure time versus work. Scenario. A person decides to work overtime on a Saturday instead of going to a family gathering. Opportunity cost is the enjoyment, family bonding, and memories missed during the gathering, along with the potential monetary compensation from overtime work. Buying a car. Scenario: a person decides to buy a new car for $25,000 instead of using that money for a down payment on a house. The opportunity cost includes not only the potential appreciation in value of the house over time, but also the benefits of home ownership, such as stability, tax benefits, and equity accumulation. Fifth, resource allocation in business. Scenario: a company has a budget of $1 million and can either invest in a new machinery or expand its marketing efforts. Opportunity cost: if the company chooses to buy new machinery, the opportunity cost is the potential increase in sales and market share that could have been achieved through an effective marketing campaign. Sixth, time management. Scenario: an individual has an evening free and can either watch a movie or read a book. Opportunity cost: if they choose to watch the movie, the opportunity cost is the knowledge and enjoyment they would have gained from reading the book. Summary: opportunity cost is a critical concept that helps in evaluating the true cost of decisions, emphasizing that every choice comes with a trade-offs. By considering what is sacrificed when making a choice, individuals and organizations can make more rational and informed decisions that align with their goals and values. Define scarcity and explain how it is central to the study of economics. Scarcity is a fundamental concept in economics that refers to the limited availability of resources in comparison to the unlimited wants and needs of individuals and society. It implies that there are not enough resources such as time, money, labor, and raw materials to satisfy all human desires. Because of scarcity, choices must be made regarding how to allocate these limited resources effectively. Key characteristics of scarcity. 1. Limited resources. Resources such as land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship are finite and cannot meet all human desires simultaneously. 2. Unlimited wants. Human desires are virtually limitless. People continuously seek goods and services to improve their quality of life or achieve their goals. Third, trade-offs. Due to scarcity, every choice involves trade-offs, meaning that selecting one option necessitates foregoing another. Central role of scarcity in economics. Scarcity is central to the study of economics for several reasons. 1. Foundation of economic theory. Scarcity is the primary reason for the existence of economics as a discipline. It derives the need for individuals, businesses, and governments to make decisions about resource allocation and prioritization. 2. Resource allocation. Scarcity forces societies to determine how to allocate limited resources effectively. Economic systems, that is, capitalism, socialism, mixed economies provide different methods for addressing scarcity and making allocation decisions. Third, decision making. The concept of scarcity underlies all economic decisions. Individuals must weigh the benefits and costs of their choices. This leads to the development of concepts like opportunity cost, which emphasizes what is sacrificed when making a decision. Fourth, supply and demand. Scarcity influences the laws of supply and demand, which are fundamental to market economies. When a resource is scarce, its value typically increases, leading to changes in pricing, availability, and consumer behavior. Fifth, incentives. Scarcity creates incentives for innovation and efficiency. Individuals and businesses seek to develop new methods, products, and technologies to utilize resources more effectively and meet demands without compromising on quality. Sixth, economic growth and development. Understanding scarcity is vital for forecasting, for fostering economic growth. Policymakers aim to expand the availability of resources, that is, through education, technology, infrastructure, to mitigate the effects of scarcity and improve living standards. Seventh, equity and distribution. Scarcity also raises questions about equity and distribution in society. Economists analyze how resources are distributed among different groups, the implications for social welfare, and how policies can address inequality arising from scarcity. Examples of scarcity: natural resources, the availability of fresh water, arable land, and fossil fuels is limited, leading to competition and conflict over access and usage. Time. Individuals face scarcity of time, which limits how much they can work, rest, and engage in leisure activities. Healthcare. In many regions, there are limited healthcare resources like hospital beds and medical professionals compared to the population's healthcare needs. Summary. Scarcity is a core principle of economics that underscores the necessity of making choices in the face of limited resources and unlimited wants. It drives economic decision making at all levels, influencing how resources are allocated, how prices are determined, and how policies are formulated. Understanding scarcity enables individuals, businesses, and governments to navigate the complexities of economic life effectively. Differentiate between positive and normative economics with example. Positive and normative economics are two distinct branches of economic analysis that serve different purposes and have different methodologies. Here is a breakdown of the differences between the two, along with examples. Positive economics. Definition. Positive economics deals with objective analysis and statements that can be tested, measured, or validated. It focuses on describing and explaining economic phenomena based on factual data and evidence. Key characteristics: descriptive, explains what is in the economy. Objective, based on observable data and facts. Testable, statements can be verified through empirical evidence. Examples: inflation rates. The inflation rate in the US was 5.4% in July 2021. This statement is factual and can be verified through economic data. 2. Unemployment levels. The unemployment rate increased from 3.5% to 6.7% during the COVID-19 pandemic. This statement reports a measurable economic outcome based on available statistics. Third, impact of minimum wage. Increasing the minimum wage leads to a decrease in employment levels among low-skilled workers. This is a hypothesis that can be tested using statistical data from labor markets. Normative economics. Definition: normative economics involves subjective analysis and value judgments about what ought to be. It focuses on opinions, beliefs, and recommendations regarding economic policies and outcomes. Key characteristics: prescriptive, suggests what ought to be in economic situations. Subjective, based on personal values, opinions, and ethical considerations. Not testable, statements are often based on beliefs and cannot be verified empirically. Example: minimum wage policies. The government should raise the minimum wage to ensure a living wage for all workers. This statement reflects a value judgment about fairness and economic justice. Justice. 2. Healthcare access. Access to healthcare is a fundamental right and should be provided free of charge to all citizens. This expresses a belief about the role of government and social responsibility, which is subjective. Third, economic inequality. We should implement higher taxes on the wealthy to reduce income inequality. This is a normative statement that advocates for a particular policy based on ethical considerations. Summary: the nature of positive economics is objective and fact-based. The nature of normative economics is subjective and opinion-based. Positive economics focuses on what is. Normative economics focuses on what ought to be. Positive economics uses empirical analysis methodology. Normative economics uses value judgment methodology. Examples of positive economics includes economic data, statistics. Normative economics examples include policy recommendations, ethical considerations. Conclusion: understanding the distinction between positive and normative economics is crucial for economic analysis. Positive economics provides the foundation for understanding how the economy functions, while normative economics offers insights into what policies might be desirable based on societal values and goals. Both branches are essential for informed decision making and public policy formulation. Explain the concept of marginal analysis in decision making. Marginal analysis is a crucial concept in economics that involves examining the additional or incremental benefits and costs associated with a particular decision. It helps individuals and organizations determine the optimal level of an activity by comparing the marginal benefits, that is MB, to the marginal cost, that is MC, of that activity. The principle of marginal analysis is often used in various decision-making scenarios, including consumption, production, and investment. Key components of marginal analysis. 1. Marginal benefit MB. This refers to the additional benefit derived from consuming or producing one more unit of a good or service. It helps individuals and firms evaluate how much more satisfaction or utility they gain from an extra unit. Example: if a consumer derives $10 worth of satisfaction from the first slice of pizza and $8 from the second, the marginal benefit of the second slice is $8. Second, marginal cost MC. This represents the additional cost incurred from consuming or producing one more unit of a good or service. It includes any extra expenses related to that additional unit. Example: if producing an additional unit of a product costs $5, that amount is the marginal cost. Third, optimal decision rule. The key principle in marginal analysis is to continue an activity until the marginal benefit equals the marginal cost. That is, MB equals MC. This is known as the optimal level of output or consumption. If MB, marginal benefit, is greater than MC, marginal cost, it is beneficial to increase the level of activity as the additional benefit exceeds the additional cost. If MB, marginal benefit, is less than marginal cost, it is advisable to decrease the level of activity as the additional cost outweighs the additional benefit. Application of marginal analysis. Marginal analysis is applied in various decision-making contexts. 1. Consumer decisions. Consumers use marginal analysis to determine how much of a product to buy. For instance, if the price of a good decreases, consumers may calculate the marginal utility gained from purchasing additional units compared to their cost. 2. Business production. Firms employ marginal analysis to decide how many units of a product to produce. By analyzing the marginal cost of production against the marginal revenue, that is, additional revenue from selling one more unit, Businesses can determine the profit maximizing level of output. Third, investment decisions. Investors assess the marginal returns of an investment opportunity relative to its risks and costs. They will invest in projects as long as the expected marginal return exceeds the marginal cost of investment. Fourth, policy making. Policymakers may use marginal analysis to evaluate the costs and benefits of new regulations or public projects. For example, they might analyze the marginal benefits of improved infrastructure against the marginal costs of funding those improvements. Example of marginal analysis in decision making scenario. A factory producing widgets wants to determine whether to increase production from 100 to 101 units. Marginal cost. The factory calculates that producing the 101 101 widget will cost an additional $50 including labor and materials. Marginal benefit. The factory estimates that selling the 101st widget will generate $70 in revenue. Analysis. Marginal benefit MB equals $70. Marginal cost MC equals $50. Since MB is greater than MC, the factory should increase production to maximize profit. Conclusion. Marginal analysis is a vital tool in decision making across various economic contexts. By evaluating the additional benefits and costs associated with different levels of activity, individuals and organizations can make informed choices that enhance efficiency and maximize utility or profit. The ability to understand and apply marginal analysis is essential for effective economic reasoning and resource allocation. Discuss the significance of the production possibility curve, that is PPC. The production possibility curve PPC, also known as the production possibility frontier PPF, is a graphical representation that illustrates the maximum possible output combinations of two goods or services that an economy can achieve given its available resources and technology. The PPC, production possibility curve, is a fundamental concept in economics that serves several important purposes. 1. Illustration of scarcity. Visual representation. The PPC visually depicts the concept of scarcity. Since resources are limited, an economy cannot produce unlimited quantities of goods and services. The curve shows the trade-offs that must be made when allocating scarce resources between different products. Choice necessity. Any point on the curve illustrates an efficient allocation of resources, while points inside the curve indicate underutilization of resources, highlighting the need for choices. 2. Opportunity cost. Trade-offs. The PPC, production possibility curve, illustrates the opportunity cost associated with shifting resources from the production of one good to another. The slope of the curve reflects the rate at which one good must be sacrificed to produce more of the other good. Understanding opportunity cost. For example, moving from point A to point B on the PPC may require sacrificing a certain number of units of good X to produce additional units of good Y, thus quantifying the opportunity cost of that decision. Third, efficiency and inefficiency. Efficient production. Points on the PPC indicate efficient production levels, where resources are fully utilized. Producing at these points means that it is not possible to increase the production of one good without decreasing the production of the other. Inefficient production. Points inside the curve represent inefficiency, indicating that not all resources are being utilized effectively. This situation could arise from unemployment, misallocation of resources, or underproduction. Fourth, economic growth. Shifts in the curve. Economic growth can be represented by an outward shift of the PPC, indicating an increase in an economy's capacity to produce goods and services due to improvements in technology, an increase in resources, or enhancements in productivity. Long-term implications. An outward shift allows for higher production levels of both goods, signifying the improved economic well-being and increased standards of living. Fifth, comparative advantage and specialization. Trade benefits. The PPC can illustrate the advantages of specialization and trade between countries or individuals. By focusing on production of goods where they have a comparative advantage, entities can trade to achieve combinations of goods that are unattainable in isolation. Gains from trade. By producing along the PPC and trading, economies can enjoy a higher total output than if they attempted to produce everything independently. Sixth, resource allocation decisions. Policy implications. The PPC is a useful tool for policymakers to understand the implications of resource allocation decisions. It helps in analyzing the trade-offs involved in allocating resources to different sectors such as healthcare versus education or military versus consumer goods. Strategic planning. Organizations can use the PPC to strategize on the optimal mix of production to meet market demands efficiently. Seventh, environmental considerations. Sustainability analysis. The PPC can also be adapted to illustrate the trade-offs between production and environmental sustainability. For example, producing more of one good might lead to environmental degradation, and the PPC can represent these trade-offs in resource allocation decisions. Example of PPC. Consider an economy that produces only two goods, computers and cars. The PPC might show the following. If the economy produces 100 computers, it can produce 50 cars. If it produces 80 computers, it can produce 40 cars. Producing at any point on the curve is efficient, while points inside the curve represents inefficiency, and points outside the curve are unattainable with current resources. Conclusion. The production possibility curve is a fundamental tool in economics that encapsulates key concepts such as scarcity, opportunity cost, efficiency, and economic growth. It provides valuable insights into resource allocation, trade-offs, and the implication of economic decisions, making it essential for understanding the complexities of production and consumption in any economy. What are the basic economic problems that every economy faces? Every economy, regardless of its structure or level of development, faces fundamental economic problems due to the inherent nature of scarcity, that is, limited resources in relation to unlimited wants. The basic economic problems can be categorized as follows. First, what to produce? Definition. This problem addresses the question of which goods and services should be produced in an economy. Consideration. Given the limited resources, societies must decide on the allocation of resources to produce various goods. This involves evaluating consumer preferences, societal needs, and the potential profitability of different products. Implication. The choice of what to produce impacts the economy's overall structure, including industries that will thrive and those that may decline. It also reflects the values and priorities of society. Example, focusing on healthcare versus luxury goods. 2. How to produce? Definition. This question focuses on the methods and processes used in the production of goods and services. Consideration. Decisions must be made regarding the technology, labor, and resources employed in production. Choices may include using labor-intensive versus capital-intensive techniques, selecting sustainable practices, or adapting new technologies. Implications. The production methods chosen will affect efficiency, costs, environmental impact, and ultimately the quality of goods produced. Third, for whom to produce? Definition. This problem deals with the distribution of produced goods and services among the members of society. Consideration. Economies must determine how to allocate the goods produced. This can be based on factors such as income levels, social class, needs, or market demand. Questions arise about equity, access, and fairness in distribution. Implications. The method of distribution affects social welfare and can lead to disparities in wealth and access to resources. It raises ethical considerations about how wealth and resources should be shared. How much to produce? Definition. This aspect of economic decision making involves determining the optimal quantity of goods and services to produce. Consideration: producers must evaluate consumer demand, resource availability, and production capacity to decide how much to produce. This requires analysis of market trends and consumer behavior. Implications: underproduction can lead to shortages and unmet consumer needs, while overproduction can result in waste and unsold inventory, impacting economic efficiency. Fifth, when to produce. Definition: this involves determining the timing of production and the life cycle of goods and services. Considerations: timing decisions can include seasonal production, example agricultural goods, responses to market demand fluctuations, and aligning production schedules with consumer buying patterns. Implications: proper timing can maximize profits and minimize losses. Both misjudgments can lead to excess supply or insufficient stock to meet demand. Summary of basic economic problems. Economic problem: what to produce. Deciding which goods and services to produce based on consumer preferences and resource allocation. How to produce: determining the production methods and technology to use for efficiency and sustainability. For whom to produce: deciding how to distribute goods and services among the population, considering equity and access. How much to produce: assessing the optimal quantity of goods and services to produce based on demand and capacity. When to produce: timing production to align with market demand and seasonal factors. Conclusion: these basic economic problems arise from the fundamental issues of scarcity and choice. Economies must navigate these challenges to allocate resources effectively, produce efficiently, and distribute goods and services equitably. The way these problems are addressed can significantly influence economic performance, social welfare, and overall quality of life in a society. Understanding these issues is essential for policymakers, businesses, and individuals alike.